Breaking news out of Compton. We've just learned that 2 LASD deputies were shot by a suspect, both reportedly shot in the head, and both have been rushed into surgery. Now there is a manhunt underway to find that suspect. We told you how huge and expansive this scene is. We're still learning more information on who this suspect is, where he came from, but we understand that those 2 deputies may have been ambushed just a bit ago.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Exceptional Conservative Show. There was probably nothing more disconcerting this weekend than to learn of the 2 deputies that were killed. Well, forgive me, not killed. They were ambushed in Los Angeles with the intent to kill them. The unfortunate thing is that we've gone through a summer of love as expressed by the mayor of Seattle. And during that summer of love, police have been targeted and even defunded and dismantled their offices. And so a lot of Americans are sitting around and they're asking themselves, what do we do? How do we defend ourselves from here? Tonight we have with us Rick Ector, who is the owner of a firearms training academy in Detroit, Michigan, with us tonight. I wanted to get your thoughts regarding the whole idea of the safety of America's police. It appears that they can't even sit in their cars at this particular moment without being targeted by would-be assassins. I wanted to get your thoughts in terms of that.
Man, it's just an awful dastardly deed, man. You know, if there's anyone who should be, you know, honored in our society, man, it should be those who put their own lives way, who run towards problems, issues, concerns, and danger than our law enforcement officers at all levels, local, county, state, and federal, who are discharged with the responsibility of keeping us safe when the call for help goes out, man. So hearts and prayers definitely out to those officers, and I wish them a full recovery. It's unfathomable that there are people out there who would attack their fellow man or woman without provocation, let alone a law enforcement officer. But that just underscores, you know, the fact that if law enforcement officers can be targeted, so can regular, everyday citizens, if for nothing else than their beliefs, their religion, or their political views, political party. If you're a Second Amendment supporter, if you believe certain ideologies that the violent left feels that makes you sacrificial, you know, and wish to do something bad to you. It just underscores the fact that if law enforcement officers can be targeted, then no one is safe. And it underscores the need for safety, particularly in some of these communities in our country in which they're attempting to defund the police and in some cases drastically reduce their rank in force. So it underscores the need for everyone to consider that they may be called upon responders to ensure that they're safe, to ensure that their families are safe, and if necessary to band together with other law-abiding citizens in the form of our neighbors to protect our communities. With some of the unfortunate incidents that we've seen unfold over the recent past, it's not unfathomable that some can appear in your neighborhood and start setting things on fire and doing all sorts of dastardly deeds. And it's only, I can only describe it with one word, man, and it's just pure evil. Yes. Insanity might be another, but you know, it just underscores the fact that there is a need for personal protection. Typically, you know, I talk about your common criminal, you know, your rapists, your carjackers, your home invaders, you know, thrill killers. Now we have to give serious consideration to political protesters who turn to the dark side and want to use violence to make a political point. You know, it's
Rick,
a
you make
very
an excellent
disturbing trend, man, but everyone needs to step up and take care of themselves.
Rick, you make an excellent point that there's a differentiation between the quick looter, forgive me, or the quick robber who's not looking for any, violence or whatever, just trying to get in, get out, get your cash and go, versus someone who has a mindset that's determined to eliminate you from the face of the earth. And if you could, because you grew up, you're on the streets of Detroit, I'm in Washington, D.C., if you can express to people uh, that mindset does exist even in neighborhoods where they feel most comfortable. They may not have experienced this before. If you could speak to that.
Man, let me tell you, when I got robbed several years ago, man, 15, 16 years ago, I lived in a pretty nice neighborhood, man,
Yeah,
and had a nice home on a nice lot in a nice community, one of the nicer communities in the city. But no one's safe, man. If you're out and about or even on your own property and bad people are near you, and if they sense that you are unaware and that you possibly are unarmed and distracted and they're armed and they have nothing but bad intentions in their heart, man, you can be a crime victim in the blink of an eye. And it's really a distressing and a disturbing thought, but having gone through the process, I can tell you most assuredly it can happen anywhere and at any time. And I'm just talking about just common street crime, if you will,
hmm,
robberies, muggings, carjackings, home invasions. And now, we got to look at political violence or people who are trying to make a political point because things aren't going their way politically, that
yeah,
now they want to try to burn our cities down and to do harm to otherwise law-abiding citizens. It's a very sad thing to see, man, but it
exactly. And
underscores the fact that no matter where you are, you need to be alert and be prepared to defend yourself.
Rick Ector with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, a national hero when it comes to training men, women, and children in terms of protecting themselves and their property. Uh, you spoke earlier in our conversation about neighbors banding together. Now, this is what the left hears when they hear that you guys are going to be vigilantes, you're going to be going through the streets, you're going to be gallivanting and creating havoc for people. Is that what you intend in terms of vigilante justice, or is it merely defending your personal property and your life?
I look at it as defending your personal property and in many cases your life, man. You're talking about the scope of incidents that we have followed in the news media in which these so-called harmless protesters, are infiltrated by one or two violent people who somehow, if you believe these folks, who give them a bad name because they start using guns criminally or they start setting properties. You know what? I'm all for the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Truly, I love this First Amendment as much as I love the Second Amendment, which was created to back it up. However, that moment when you use violence as a form of political protest, when you start burning things and shooting people and beating people and killing people, you have clearly crossed the line, man, and you need to be held accountable.
Now, when the two deputies were shot in Compton over the weekend, the following day, Vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris for the Democrat Marxists and presidential candidate Joe Biden for the Democrat Marxists came out and immediately stated that Americans need to turn in their guns. We need to apply gun control. One of the biggest fears that a lot of Americans have is that there are people who are leftists in thought who really believe in gun control and really want to find a way of taking guns out of the hands of good people. And one of those things is the red flag laws. And if you could talk about that and how that is a malicious attempt to seize the right of self-defense from people.
Well, you know, those red flag laws are especially onerous and dangerous, man.
Mm-hmm.
They have the ability through mere speculation, through hearsay, through uncorroborated testimony, in closed session in some cases, to submit so called testimony against a citizen in secrecy and in privacy.
Mm-hmm.
And if the allegations rise to a certain level, the government can then convene a pre-dawn raid upon your residence with armed law enforcement officers.
Wow.
And if these officers don't kill you because you think you're defending your home in a home invasion, then they're going to seize your property without due process and force you with no compensation or no representation to defend yourself against mere allegations after you've already been convicted and sentenced to whatever punishment they feel is necessary. And the other part about these red flag laws, man, is that not only do you not get due process, but here the other thing is, you know, you have been, you know, convicted secretly, man, and you have no recourse, and they could kill you. It's the most evil legislation I can think of, man.
Exactly. And you speak of hearsay because a lot of people would say, listen, there are lots of crazy people out here, and I'm just doing what's right to take the guns out of the hands of people like that guy who was going to assassinate the two deputies. I was looking out for the best interests of the deputies, right? Uh, if you could speak to just the fabrications that can be used to take away someone's guns.
Man, you know, it's only limited by the creativity of someone who has no problem mischaracterizing the truth, man. You
Wow.
know, typically, you know, if I don't like you, you're of a political persuasion, or if you have certain political opinions, if you are, you know, anti-Second Amendment, if you you have certain thoughts about abortion, you know, the political left is not above using violence or the threat of violence or using your local government agencies to deprive you of your rights, you know, under the guise of public safety, man. Here's the one thing that we're entitled to as citizens of this country. We're entitled to face our accusers and to that have been
Yes.
laid against us. We are assumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by a jury of our peers, man. No cruel and unusual punishment. I mean, these set of laws that fall under red flag are just evil, man, and they can be initiated by someone who just does not like you, your lifestyle, or what you believe. And there's no hard set in stone requirements to provide certain levels of evidence that rises to a certain level. It's just allegations on paper, enough to scare an elected official into thinking that they might be responsible for the consequences of not signing this order without doing their due diligence to ensure that those allegations are indeed factual. And the point, the other point I wanted to make
Mm-hmm.
is that in these red flag law cases, the focus is on removing the gun. Okay, once you've taken, still left a person who is alleged to at least be a threat to himself and some other person. If
Yes.
you truly and honestly believe that, why aren't we doing something about that person? You know, and that just says to me that if you can't have that person evaluated, then maybe the evidence or the allegations you have against people are not satisfactorily sufficient to be sitting in judgment on them, man.
Thank
These
you.
laws, especially these red flag laws, I just characterize as evil.
Exactly. Rick, there are women and men sitting out here tonight. They've been told over the years that the police will get to their home in 20 minutes or less. Uh, they've been told that they don't need a gun, especially in urban centers like Detroit and Boston, Chicago, Washington, D.C., New York, that the government will take care of them in their needs. And they're waking up now and they're finding that there are cities like Minneapolis and Newark, New Jersey, which have dismantled their police forces, and that there are cities like Washington, D.C., where the mayor has actually colored Main Street going into the White House, 16th Street, with Black Lives Matter. There are even those who have radical black uh, organizations that have decided that they're going to become the police for cities and areas. So there's a lot of things going on at this point. What can you say to that man, woman, or child? Well, not child, but at least man or woman who is sitting at home tonight watching and saying, I thought about a gun, but I'm scared. What would you say to that person?
I would say to that person not to fear a firearm. One should fear ignorance and a lack of training. By all means, if you're seriously afraid, if you believe that your life is at risk or could soon be at risk from certain political fringe groups who have no qualms against indiscriminately using violence to make a political point,
Yeah.
then I would urge you to seek out training from a qualified firearms instructor. Operating a firearm safely is not rocket science. There are a few rules that you need to patently, fervently, and consistently apply. But I'm telling you, if you can operate something as complicated or as potentially dangerous as an automobile, a
Ooh,
handgun is a piece of cake.
there you go. Now, there are some people out there that say the gun may be a bit too much. Um, what, maybe I should try tasers. Would you be a proponent of individuals starting out with working with tasers?
There are people who express just some concerns about guns, and it's usually based upon ignorance, some things that
Yeah.
they may have seen in a movie, which is untrue, or wives' tale they've heard from certain anti-gun people in the community, or no shortage of people in political office of a certain political party who like to spread falsehoods about firearms and the fact it be safely wielded and used by a whole variety of people sufficiently and safely. Some people float out the idea of using a taser. Well, tasers have their own concerns and issues. Must be deployed within a certain number of feet, usually 15 to 20 feet. Probe placement is problematic. If you're too far away and the probes hit the ground, or only one attached to the clothing and you don't get a good connect on the other, if the person is sufficiently intoxicated with a certain level of drugs in their bloodstream, it could prove impervious to the person they're trying to subdue. Uh, the unit must be dropped and you must run away before the system deactivates itself. So if you're at home, you have to now potentially leave your home, which is your assumed place of safety, and go somewhere else. you know some people think that a taser is a panacea or a cure-all. I just think it just is too problematic to be practical. If you
Exactly.
are serious about personal protection, you need a firearm. There is nothing unduly complicated about a firearm. It is as safe as you are and as safe as the level of training that you receive. And I can most assuredly assure you that only a modicum amount of training is sufficient to satisfactorily and safely handle a firearm with no detriment to yourself, with the added benefit of being able to protect your family.
And I just want to add to that, Rick, in Kenosha and in Atlanta, we've seen where the police who have used tasers have been unsuccessful in bringing down the criminal that they were facing. Uh, the gun is probably the best tool of defense, self-defense that you could possibly have. But a better tool is having an instructor, and you're one of the best instructors in America, Rick. How can people get in contact with you and get your tutelage or your reference of better tutors out there?
Man, I definitely appreciate the compliment. In people who are interested in reaching out to me, I have a website and I have a blog. My website is www.legallyarmedindetroit.com and Rick's Firearm Academy of Detroit.com. I am literally on all the social media sites. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, over 2,400 videos on YouTube about personal protection and self-defense. I'm even on LinkedIn, and did I say Instagram? Just look for me, Google me. I swear to God, you can't miss me.
Rick Ector, ladies and gentlemen, one of America's best. If you've been trained by Rick Ector, you're not going to have issues and problems. Rick Ector, who is the owner of Rick's Firearm Academy of Detroit, but he's not limited to Detroit, ladies and gentlemen. You can get in contact with him at Facebook. You can get in contact with him on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. This is a man who loves presenting the Second Amendment to people who have been conversely told that they shouldn't even participate. And he has been so successful, and I am very proud of you for working with those 2,000 women recently. And that's not the end of it for this year, am I correct?
Man, I'm always looking to do more, man, and just wait and you see how many I train next year. I only use 2 locations this year. I'm going to at least that, and I'm looking to take my show on the road. So if an announcement on social media that I'm in your town, don't be surprised. I told you I was coming.
There you go. Rick Ector, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you, sir. We'll be talking with you again very soon.
Hey, man, God bless you as well.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Ector with us tonight. That is a great, great honor. And I'm going to tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, ladies and gentlemen, you need to, I know some of you all bought guns, but you didn't do the training part, or you're afraid to get a gun. Go to Rick, get trained, and make certain that you protect yourself, the people that you love, and your property. The property you may or may not be able to get back, but I can tell you from personal experience, you will never get back the people that you love. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with more of the best in urban conservative talk. Wonderful conversation with Rick Ector. I'm Ken McClinton, the host and host of the Exceptional Conservative Show, president of TECN TV. We are the best in urban conservative news, talk, and movies, ladies and gentlemen. We are a republic and not a democracy. You'll know that when you go and vote. We've been talking about the fact that the police have been targeted and defunded. How should Americans defend themselves? It's a very easy process. Put the first step forward. Make certain that you get in contact with Rick Ector. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, with more of the best right after this.